So how do you think it went, Diane?
I think it went really well. I was impressed with some of the bags that the students produced, so I'm excited to see, look at some of the data and see how they did.
Okay, good. So their work was pretty good.
I think
this time
so.
around. Yeah. All right. So what of your choices that you made kind of during the unit had the biggest impact, do you think?
I think the frequent check-ins that I was doing with the students throughout the course of the assignment was really beneficial. Rather than just kind of waiting until the end and go, oh, this was the problem. I was actually stopping at different points and kind of checking in with all the kids to see how they did.
Cool. So it's kind of, I guess, formative assessments
right.
that you did.
Right. Yeah, that would be the word. Right. Yep. Sorry. I was checking in and then doing some of those formative assessments throughout the course of the project.
Was that something you planned on from the beginning, or, I mean, where did that idea come from?
Actually, it came out of the PLC meetings. In one of the meetings we had a couple weeks ago, another one of my colleagues was talking about that, how they had done that with their class, and so I implemented it in my practice in my class, and it actually worked out really well.
Okay. So you, from your PLC, this idea of doing it frequently, are there any things that you've learned now about this strategy that you didn't know before? The descriptive feedback kind of stuff.
Right, yep. I think one of the things, and again, coming from the PLC discussions, allowing students time to process that descriptive feedback, I think is huge, because I think we all have good intentions, but then really figuring out a way to give the students some of that built-in time so that they can really process.
Okay, so it's kind of like I've given them some feedback, but I need to make sure that they have a chance to take that feedback and process and think about it so they can apply it, not just handing them a sheet of paper at the end of the hour.
Right. Yeah, and actually one of the articles that we were given from our coaches had some different ideas about how to do that. So I, kind of took some time to read that and then implemented it again in my classroom, and it was awesome watching the kids actually understand and read what I was doing, because I'm spending time on giving them that feedback and filling out, but then I want it to be meaningful to them. So talking in the PLC and then using some of those articles from the coaches was awesome.
Cool. So it sounds like you had some things coming from a lot of different directions, PLCs and coaches that all were kind of coming together to make this work. So.
Right. Yep.
Cool.
Worked out really well.
So looking forward then, what are your next steps with descriptive feedback?
I think it's going to be to go back and then look at some of the data in terms of how the kids did. We're using that descriptive feedback to, give the kids an idea of how they're doing, but then look at some of the data again to see how we're doing and kind of disaggregate it.
Okay.
And look at some of the subgroups. How did the boys do versus the girls, or how did some of the special ed kids do versus the gen ed kids, or things like that.
Okay. So right now when you say like it went really well, you're thinking of the class as a whole.
Right. We're feeling really good. Yeah.
But we've got to find out what maybe wasn't so good for this group and what you can do next.
Yeah. Right. Because, like I said, we're kind of feeling good as a whole, but then I think it's important to ensure that nobody was missed, or that everybody is feeling good about it.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do some scoring. Let's
Okay.
close out your rubric.
Okay.
Oh, that's the rubric too.
Oh, sorry.
Let's kind of go through that and figure out what your score should be.
Okay.
All right.